Hello everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. Happy Friday. We made it through the week. I'm just so happy to be here with you all and just share with you what's been going on throughout this week, man. We had a lot of things happen, and I'm just so happy to be here. And, how could I say? Just, throughout certain things that have happened, I feel as though there's been certain levels of accomplishment that I've felt, at various levels. So, I never take for granted this opportunity or the responsibility, I should say, to come here on the air with you all. Big shout out to Doc G, Robert Brantley Jr. on our Facebook live stream, G Off, and Mark on our Instagram live stream. But, I think that the consistency that it takes to continuously put out quality content, not just content. And, so many times, you look on social media or you look at certain things and after a while things do burn out because, the thirst or the motivation to stay creative, leaves people. And I just, the day that, this isn't something that I don't want to do anymore will be the day that this podcast will end, which will never happen because, I think that throughout the experiences that I live, throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, I feel like all those things, I really look back at reflectively and I use it to build content for this show weekly, and the fact that, people know that they can look forward to this and that this will always be there for them each week. I've kind of, in a way, cemented my part into culture, man, where, at some point this weekend, you're going to get an episode of the Talk That Talk Show. And, like I said, for a lot of people that have certain goals of reaching fame, hitting certain numbers and things of that nature, that's definitely great things to achieve and great things to strive for. But at the end of the day, if you don't have intrinsic value or something that motivates you to do it beyond just money or beyond just views, beyond just likes, then it becomes increasingly hard to do so. And I'm just happy that, I continue to find love and passion for podcasting. And I continue to have people that support watching this show and that ask me. I had a guy in the bowling alley at Majestic just last night. He came up to me and he works there. And, one of the first things he says to me is like, yo, when are you going to have, another 100th episode of the Talk That Talk Show at our alley? And, just something like having an off-site event like that to where it still had lasting memories in people's minds and that they still want it. It's something that I don't take lightly, man. And it speaks to, again, the consistency and the professionalism that it takes to produce high-quality content and, do so in a caring way, man. I think that if I came up here, with no things written down, and, I think that before I get into it, I definitely want to give a big shout out to my man, Shamantre. He was starting up, I guess one of his own little reflective type shows, or if you want to call it, on Instagram. And, a lot of times you can really, see people that are trying to do the right thing, and, you could, just scroll through whatever. But, I just took the time to really give him some honest feedback. I feel like at times, when you're starting something or you have the support of people, oftentimes you might not get the genuine, honest feedback from people because they don't want to hurt your feelings or, don't want to, make you feel some type of way. But at the end of the day, you can't really get true progress or, get better if you don't have people around you telling how to get better, right? So, I'm looking through and I just gave this guy, something that I thought. And, throughout listening to him, I thought that at times it felt like you could visibly see that, he was trying to think about what the next thing was, right? Or what he was going to talk about next. And, I just gave him the simple idea of, hey, just getting some note cards, man. And I'm not sitting here saying that I'm, because you guys know I do this show live, one take, no bullshit. Whatever I say is what it is, I just think that, when you have note cards, you have those things that kind of help you lead in the right direction. It kind of keeps you, on track and keeps your center, your thoughts centered. And, I gave that advice to him, and he was just so appreciative of that. So I think that at times, not being afraid to give our honest feedback, there's definitely ways that you can help people out. And then we have Javi Caps, who says, thank you for everything, bro. And I think it's so important because I don't know if I told this story before, but I remember one time, Javi Caps has been somebody that, throughout the hat game, he's always helped me out. When we first showed up at the ECAP City when nobody else was out there, he was in my ear, giving me different ideas and tips on how to get better with assisting and building, my clientele. And he didn't have to do that because, I feel like, again, at times, people won't necessarily give you the advice to bring you up. And, I really took to that. And, ever since then, we've had a great relationship to where, I've helped him and he helped me. And, in that rat race or that cheese race or whatever you want to call it, I think that throughout the hat game itself, we've seen that some people have fallen off, due to the lack of those morals or that moral code. And one time, we were at a My Finish drop, and I had to leave because I think I had a bowling match or something like that. And just out of the niceness of myself, I was like, yo, I'm going to give you, Javi, come here, man. I'm going to give you a ticket, bro. I know I got to leave, but, here, just take my ticket. And, I went back, was about to leave. And all of a sudden, Javi just comes up to me. He's like, yo, Barry. Yo, they called this number, right? They called this ticket. And he literally gave me the ticket back that I gave to him, because I didn't even know that they had called my number. And again, I just say that it just speaks to the character of not only Javi, but the character within myself for him to think highly enough of me to do that, And, I go this to say this all because he says to me, thank you for everything, because, it came down to it where I had the access to a hat that was a very high valued hat. A lot of people were upset that they didn't get a chance at it, but because of the relationship that I have and because of the groundwork that I put in, I was able to get that hat. And did I charge Javi anything crazy? No. I charged him the retail that it took to get me. And I know that because there's been so many times that Javi's done things for me in the past, whereas get hats or, deliver hats, whatever you want to call it. But it's that sense of, helping out that next person without really asking for much in return. And it's that type of things that are lost when it comes to building, from the ground up. So I just am very thankful for Javi, and, I was happy to be in a position to help him out to secure his hat because, most importantly, if you don't have those people out there that you can help out and that want to help you out, you're going to have a hard time building from scratch, And I go this to all say about, professionalism. And, I had an experience today that really upset me. I don't want to say names or anything, but, I was at CapCon. You guys know me and, having the vending that I was doing there. And, somebody who had done customizations for hats was there that I did want to have customized my hat. And I was hyped and happy to support, support black business, and, I was promised that the hat would be done in a couple days, and I thought nothing of it, and when it came down to it, 3-4 months had passed by, and I hadn't even heard from this guy before, and I had given him my hat, and, it just sucked because, on the other end where I have my business where I treat customer service and, customer loyalty to the utmost of importance, to have a guy who, maybe because I had less than 2,000 followers, didn't feel like it was a priority to do my order. And, again, I tried to remain patient, be as professional as possible. But at the end of the day, it came down to where I finally get in contact with him, and, he says he'll send me a picture of the finished product. But then another month goes by, and, finally the guy hit me up today, said, can we meet in New York? So I'm like, all right, bet, fine. Let's see if I can just get this done and get this out of the way. And, wind up waiting for this guy for a whole 2 hours again. And, it's just terrible because I purposely, based off of the quality of this guy's work, because he does great work, I had another hat in my back, ready to give to him, in case he proved me wrong. That maybe he'd show up on time, I'd be blown out of the water by this guy's, work. But again, I was left waiting for 2 hours after taking time out of my day, not getting a cut that I was supposed to get so that I could, meet up with this guy, because it's been 5 fucking months since I heard from him. And, on top of that, you're paying tolls, you're paying gas, to just have your time wasted in a way. And it was just shitty. It was a shitty feeling. And granted, when I got the hat from the guy, it looked fantastic, but I just couldn't see myself giving this guy another hat and going through the entire process over again, So I tell this story to say that whether you're in your own side hustle or doing whatever it is, building yourself from the scratch, you may have a great quality product. You may have that fan base out there that, is loyal to your brand and loyal to your product. But if you do not highlight and if you do not prioritize customer service just as much as you prioritize, quality of product, then you're not going to have that return customer, the residual income. You're going to stay at that one flip and then it stops there. And again, it sucks because, for this guy to have such a great product, I mean, how could I endorse the next person to then use him to get a hat or a hat customized, So again, I just want to say that, I hate to say the same thing over, but my mom says, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And my first impression of this guy is that his business skills fucking are trash. I mean, again, the hat came out well, but when you do not prioritize quality service on top of quality products, you will not get that return person, right? And, like I said, I was just happy to finally get that done with. I was able to get my hat. I'm happy with it. I'll definitely wear it proudly. But, it just made me look more into myself and be proud of the business ethics that I built. And the fact that, I uphold those every single day, whether it be with Catmaster B shipping off hats within the next hour of purchase, or whether it's Talk That Talk Show, making sure I deliver an episode each and every week. It's the consistency to stay professional, which will consistently get you success, man. And another thing that I think that helps me to stay on the right path, whether it be with, Catmaster or Talk That Talk Show, being Barry Holmes, one thing that really helps me out is just trying to stay decluttered and making sure that I'm really organized. And one of the things that I was able to do over these past, day or two, I had been putting off for a while, cleaning out my closet. I have a bunch of shit that I hadn't worn in a while, and it was just taking up space. And I feel like at times, we can talk about this, whether it's with possessions, whether it's with people, whether it's with memories. Sometimes, letting go of those things that we've had for so long can be hard to do. And, for a long time, I thought that this would be this long, arduous process trying to clean out my closet. But, once I had gotten started, it kind of felt exhilarating, to see also in a way how my whole style has changed. I had a lot of things that I used to wear back in the day that, have never graced this body since. And, it's okay. I think it speaks to the change of me as a person. I feel like they have plants, they go through plant cycles, and I'm not saying I'm being a sunflower or nothing, but at the end of the day, there are these different things that go through phases, and I feel as though I'm kind of in a way shedding what I used to be by cleaning out that closet and kind of decluttering. And in a way, when I went to sleep that night, I just felt so accomplished. I felt that sense of organization, and in a way, I felt like I had a control over my life a little bit more. And I think that I'm not saying you got to go in your closet and throw everything out. But what I will say is that definitely, look in there, see if there's anything that you haven't worn in about a year, 2 years, and see, if there's something that you can let go or get rid of, because you never know who that might be able to help out too. But I will say that, like I said, being able to declutter and kind of take control of that organization, it's definitely helped me to get on the right path as well too. But it's a great segue as well too when we talk about organization, because right after I cleaned up my room, it seemed like, or cleaned up my closet, it just seemed like that organization kind of just bled into the rest of my life. And it was funny, we were joking around at the end of bowling on Tuesday, and I was saying about, hey, let's see if we can organize a practice or something for DIY, and which is my UBA team. And CJ kind of in a way challenged me. He's like, "Oh, well, you've been in this chat for so long, but you haven't said anything, man. That'd be great to say." And I took that challenge personally, and I think that had I not cleaned out my closet, maybe I wouldn't have been so raring to go to organized practices. But in doing so, we came through and we were talking on the chat, and one of the things Strike Tyson had said to us was like, "Hey, we've heard this song before. I've heard that we want to do practices. What's different now?" And I think that was a great statement, because for someone looking in, or for someone that has been a part of that process to where you haven't seen things the whole way through, you can see that apprehension or saying, what's different? We've seen that same song. But I think that in trying to create change or create different habits, create different traditions, building chemistry, you have to do things in a way that you take accountability for that. So as a newly appointed captain, I decided to step up and say, hey, here's a couple dates, here's a couple locations, I'm going to be there for any one of them. How can we make this happen? Can we make this? Let's do this. Let's make sure that we're practicing in alleys that'll be on the tour stop. Even though we had certain people that wanted some practices that were maybe closer to them that weren't tour stops, I think that it was great for us to, kind of, stick true to where our goals are in scheduling, some practices in places that we're going to actually bowl at. And, in making that progress or taking those steps to build, I think, again, it bleeds into other parts. So even where in my regular league outside of UBA, we organized the practice with me, Lenny, and Vinny to right after league, we practice and bowled 3 games. And ultimately, again, I go this to say that, it all started with, cleaning out my closet and trying to reorganize and declutter. And in a way, through reorganizing, I kind of reprioritized, what are some of the things that I want to accomplish and what are the things that I want to do. And seeing that, one thing that stuck out in my mind was being on Dougie Vision for the first time. And, for those that don't know, Dougie Vision is the Don King of bowling. And, his videos are live streamed and they get, hundreds of views, thousands of views. And my father was on there, damn near shooting 300, shooting 288. And the one thing that Dougie has to say is, damn, and his son sucks. If he strikes out, he'll get 168. And, I know he was joking, but at the end of the day, with so many people seeing that, it was fucking embarrassing. We all have pride as bowlers, pride as people, pride as men, and nobody wants to be highlighted at their lowest of times. And I just took that and kind of, embraced how I felt and used that to say, what the fuck am I going to do about it, And I've just decided to practice a little bit more. My father has hit me up to practice, so hopefully with these next couple of days, we're going to get some practice in. Organizing practices through UBA, organizing practices with my friends in league. I just feel like I do have this thirst to get better. And it's one thing to tell each other this, and it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to then go through with it. And I think that for a while, I tried to accept or became comfortable with achieving certain goals, but at the same time, you still have to try and, achieve new goals. I'm at 206 average right now, and I want to keep going up. I don't want to take that average management route to where you mess yourself up because you're not trying to do better. And I think that goes for not just bowling, but just in life in general. I think that we at times subconsciously hold ourselves back from doing the things that we're able to do. And in doing that, we're, doing a disservice to ourselves. So, always believe in yourself. Always believe in, your core values and the things that make you who you are, and continue to try and move forward in the right direction. I feel as though, in a time where, there's a lot of things that go in our way and a lot of roadblocks, it becomes so easy to get off that path. But, when you stay true to, the things that make you who you are, you'll more oftentimes than not come out in a positive way. So, practice has done wonders for me. And, just the reorganization and taking, a little bit more control over my, living quarters. And, it's done great wonders for me and my mental, man. So if you haven't done it, I would suggest to you, try and go out there and clean out your closet a little bit. You don't know what it can do for you. And then finally, one of the things that I had seen in the media was that Jake Paul had, what's the guy's name? Tommy Fury pull out from the fight. So in doing so, obviously the show has to still go on. So Jake Paul is now going to be fighting Haseem Rahman Jr. For those that don't know who his father is, his father beat Lennox Lewis, who's one of the best heavyweight fighters of all time, to become a heavyweight champion. And then, he has had marquee fights with Evander Holyfield and a lot of your heavyweight, pound for pound guys in the division back then. But make no mistakes, this guy's no slouch. So, Haseem Rahman Jr. reigning from Baltimore, known for having really tough fighters. I'm just really excited, for the profile of this fight because, so often we've asked for Jake Paul to fight someone real. Please fight someone that, can knock your block off. And yeah, sure, we know that Tyron Woodley was an MMA fighter, but he wasn't a seasoned boxer. And to have Tyson Fury now going up against Haseem Rahman Jr., I think that really is going to be a challenge for Jake Paul. And, it's not out of the realm of possibility for this fight to be close because they both have sparred 18 months ago. And, we've seen kind of like what that can do for, familiarity with guys that have sparred with a guy like Gilbert Burns and, Kamaru Usman. You had fireworks for a little bit. So, I'm interested to see how these guys fight, being that they've sparred together. And, we're going to be in for a good fight. And I think the one thing that Jake Paul has done is he's brought eyes to boxing outside of just, championship fighting. And I think that, in boxing, the things that we thirst for are those title fights, those, those ones that are, you're going for the belt. But oftentimes, undercards and fights that don't have necessarily a belt in question, go overlooked. And that's why a lot of these times these boxing, matches have hard times filling out pay-per-views because the fights leading up to there are a little bit not competitive. And I think that for this to be a title fight and in a way still competitive with Jake Paul and Haseem Rahman Jr., Jake Paul 5-0, Haseem Rahman Jr. 10-1. We have a fight that has the potential for fireworks, and, I'm there for it. I think that Jake Paul has done great things for boxing, whether we like it or not, whether we like to admit it, but I'm here for it. I hope that Haseem Rahman gives him the sweet justice that he deserves, but that can all be said and done, on that pay-per-view. So, kudos to Jake Paul for finding a formidable opponent. He could have picked anybody, could have fought another washed-up dude. But, similar to Adesanya, you have a guy who wants more and wants to, test himself. And, we talk about that all this time on the show about testing yourself because you never know what you're going to be if you don't test yourself. Litmus tests are important not only in science, but in humans as well, man. If we are able to find out what we're made of, then that kind of helps us to dictate the path that we need to choose to get to where we need to go. So, I'm excited for this fight. Hopefully it comes soon. I think it's supposed to be in August. So, I'll definitely have my popcorn ready. But, before I get off the air here, I was able to take a stop at Hat Club today. And again, one of the things that, we've talked before about with Hat Club, is the fact that they've kind of made this resurgence in, bringing back the people away from my fitteds. And in a way, My Fitteds kind of tried to highlight the fact of the exclusivity of these hats. And, the exclusivity of the hats of Hat Club kind of is where it got them to the point of really bringing this whole hat trend to where it came from in 2019 and beyond. But Hat Club, has been the pioneers. We talked about in last week's episode. And what we saw now is an initiative to where the focus hasn't really been, let's put out these hats that only a certain people can get. It seems that they've, allowed more people chances to get more hats. And, for me, as someone who's been a true hat collector and seeing kind of some of the mistakes that, My Fitteds has made over these last couple of weeks, I'm excited to see the direction that hats are going in the hat community and Hat Club being that leading force. And their initiative has been to get pink brims out there for everybody. And in doing so, in making these team-colored pink undervisor hats, we've had some chances to get some hats that, we didn't get a chance to. And my favorite hat here has obviously been one of the black Mets hats, standard Mets hat. If you don't know about this Mets hat, you're probably not a Mets fan. But, this black has been, consistently one of the best, colorways for Mets of all time. But then to put the pink undervisor on it, sure, we've seen it done twice with the 2013 World All-Star Game patch and the 2000 Subway Series patch. But they switched it up here by putting the 2000 World Series patch. Last time that we saw this really was on a gray undervisor. So, I'm hyped with this hat. I was hyped to pick this up for my brother because I had one coming online when I went to the store. But, to see that they've kind of made that initiative to have more people have access to their hats, it's dope. And even this hat, this is the Iceberg OG collection from Hat Club. It's getting re-released tomorrow, but the hat for the Mets wasn't getting re-released. So even with these re-releases that we're seeing from these hat places, they're still finding ways to kind of reward the OGs that got them the first time. And I'm just happy to be where I'm at in the hat game and to see where it has to go. I'm going to be going to My Fitteds for the first time in which seems like 6-7 weeks. So I'm excited to see how that's going to go. And, just the landscape of hats, man. There's a good place to get hats, and there's not just one. So, I've definitely made some pickups in the last couple, days or so that is going to add to my collection. So, I don't know what hat I'm going to wear tomorrow. So, I'm going to really have to take a step and see what I'm thinking there. But, in closing, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in to the Talk That Talk show. Every single week, you name it, we're on it, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram. I just continue to try and be the best version of myself so that I can put out the best version of Talk That Talk show for you all each and every week. I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can bet that another episode of Talk That Talk Show will be here for your viewing pleasure next week. Tell a friend, talkthattalkshow.com. And also, I forgot to tell you guys that we did sell out of the first annual Talk That Talk Show Mets outing. All slots have been filled, so I'm working with Tim to try and get those shirts for the people that will be joining us on August 13th. So, again, when you go out on a limb to try and do things that you've never done, it's amazing to see the results that come. So I'm just happy to continue to test myself and hopefully inspire more people to test themselves. I love you all, and I'll see you all next week.